7 lead changes in that Chargers game, 36-34. And when I was a kid and you didn't get access to all the games, you didn't have NFL Plus where you could watch the full replays, which I don't know, a gratuitous ad for NFL Plus, but I love being able to go back and watch the full games. Yeah. But when I was a kid, there was always the game of the week from NFL Films. They would take the best game of the week, they would condense it to a half-hour show, and it was Harry Callis or John Facenda that would narrate.
Yeah.
And it was always which game. That was always the next morning, open up the newspaper with my bowl of Frosted Flakes, open up the newspaper, and look, okay, which game is going to be the game of the week? Because I always hoped it would be the Vikings game.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was always unless they lost, but it was always the most exciting 31-30.
Right.
34-31, back and forth, and this is tailor-made. This would be the NFL Films, Harry Callis, John Facenda, game of the week. Unbelievable. This is the one I can't wait to watch. We were talking about that earlier. The Dolphins pull off the win. Shades of Kellen Winslow with the, exhausted, the overtime game, the classic playoff game from when you were in diapers. And I kind of felt it coming. We were talking about it last week. We felt it coming, and it came.
It came. We last year, right, we kind of hit on our podcast when we had to pick the game. And Brandon Staley and the Chargers, they caught the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football with a good game plan, and the Dolphins didn't have a lot of answers for it. One of the reasons I picked the Dolphins to win the football game because I just said that ain't going to happen again with Mike McDaniel as the head coach. He's going to have answers for that little wrinkle that Brandon Staley did in that matchup the first time around. He's going to have more answers, let alone it looked like the offense, maybe has even expanded in year 2 under Tua. This game was amazing. The Dolphins are one of the fastest teams I've ever seen. I really say that, and especially on the offensive side of the ball. They rival anybody. It is unbelievable to watch them, what they do, the formation usage, the motions, the shifts, the creative ways in which they do it, and then you couple that with Jalen Waddle and, of course, Tyreek Hill, who's, other than Deion Sanders, maybe the fastest guy I've ever seen on a football field. Then Raheem Mostert out of the backfield, and it's, Ikunama, who's a good player, and it's just one guy after another. But, we're watching right here, if you're seeing on TV, just great throw at the end of the football game on the move by Tua and the bomb to Tyreek Hill, and then pinpoint little fade to the back end zone there to Tyreek Hill. But they scored 34 points and fumbled a snap on the 5-yard line. He threw a horrible interception in the end zone, Tua, and they had another time where they were on the 4-yard line and settled for a field goal. So it just tells you how they were moving the ball up and down the field all game long. Tua missed some throws. We saw it where, again, Tua played awesome. I'm not trying to be negative here, but I'm just saying this is how good they are. They miss like a 40-yard wide open throw, and then the next play you're just like, whoa, there's another guy for 40 yards. Bam, it doesn't matter. And it's rivaling like the greatest show on turf in how they look and run on the football field.
466 passing yards for Tua, the most passing yards ever allowed by the Chargers in their history. And it was just incredible, everything about it. 536 total yards from the Miami offense, 215 receiving yards from Tyreek Hill, and no sacks of Tua, even though Teron Armstead was out. And there was some stats that I saw on social media about Tua's performance and ability to stay healthy when Teron Armstead is out versus when he's in, but he was out and still wasn't sacked. Here's Mike McDaniel, coach of the Dolphins, from after the game, talking about that Tua-Tyreek Hill connection that we saw.
That's an off season of, more than just two guys, but those two guys are a great example of not focusing on anything but their craft. There's a lot of noise that can occur, a lot of statements that can be made, the National Football League, and those are two guys that really worried about the right stuff. So that's the ultimate hope as a coach, is that, all that time invested and, those high standards that you're holding yourself to, that's rewarded. And I think today it definitely was. They were on the same page for sure.
One of the things I love to do, because it is ridiculous to do it, you start calculating pace based upon statistical achievements week one, because they're never going to keep up with what they did week one. But Tua Tagovailoa, well, not Tua, but Tyreek wants 2,000 yards this year. He's already more than 10% of the way there in one game with 16 to go.
11 for 215.
Yeah. And he's on pace for 36.55. And it's never going to happen, but just that puts in perspective how ridiculous the performance is.
Look at this. I mean, he's beating this guy by 6 yards.
And apparently they single covered him. And
a lot.
Not everyone is going to do that. Bill Belichick and the Patriots next Sunday night on NBC surely won't. But what's that going to do for the rest of the offense? If all of a sudden you're devoting extra resources to Tyreek, Jalen Waddle's going to have 215 yards.
Tua's going to go in the game, and Tua played great, and we're all going to look at it great. He's going to watch the film today, though, and go, I should have broke the NFL passing record. He's going to look at it, right? And Tyreek Hill's going to go, I should have broke the receiving record. Because there, like I said, there was probably 3 to 4 downfield pass plays where you go, that's another 100, 150 yards that they didn't connect on. But that's how dangerous they are. I mean, yes, on the same page. Tua moved well, right? Made a lot of appropriate throws that way. And like you brought up Brandon Staley, that was disappointing. The Chargers got too much talent to be looking like that. They got too much talent.
Something.
It's just, the one thing I'll say, okay, they don't have big people in the middle of their defense. They are made to match up with a team like the Miami Dolphins. They got 2 pass rushers that are unbelievable on the edge. They got 2 middle linebackers in Kendrick and Murray that are good athletes. The secondary, it's J.C. Jackson, it's Asante Samuel, it's Derwin James. I mean, they're talented back there. This shouldn't have looked like they were, playing the B team of the Chargers on the defense there. That's what's disappointing. And you have a defensive head coach, right? And you're right, it didn't look like adjustments were ever made on the Tyreek Hill situation. Every time I looked up, I went, wait, damn, they're single covering him again? Like, who do they think they're going with here? This is the guy that's, the fastest human we've seen in football over the last 20 years. So that was surprising. And the other aspect of it that I think was surprising to me to the football game and maybe a silver lining for the Chargers, how about the Chargers running for what was it, 234 yards on offense?
Wow.
I wasn't expecting that. Maybe that's something they bring to the table this year. But nonetheless, they lose and lose in a way where you go, damn, what are the Chargers going to be this year?
When you pay all that money to your quarterback, too, it is weird.
It is weird.
And they resisted paying Austin Eckler, and they allowed him to seek a trade, and he couldn't find anybody to pay him. But you just assumed it would be pass game. But, ultimately for the Dolphins, too, they're going to be scoring a lot of points, but that defense under Vic Fangio needs to step up and make plays at certain times.
Yeah.
And, Mike Tomlin was talking earlier about that. There are critical downs where you got to win those downs.
Right.
So game on the line, Chargers with the ball, Fangio's defense, 2 sacks of Justin Herbert.
Got it done.
It's understanding that moment, the importance of making a play, and that Miami defense doesn't have to be like the killer bees of the 80s.
Right.
They don't have to be great, but they just have to be ready to make a play when it's time to slam the door.
Right. Get a turnover for the team, make the big sack. And they're going to get better. They're getting used to the Vic Fangio scheme. And, when I go back and watch this, I'm going to bet that they put all their eggs in late. Let's stop. This team hasn't run the ball. They're not a running team. So I'm sure the defensive game plan was a little skewed to pass defense that way. But, yeah, the Chargers O-line's good, like we saw there. But yeah, we were expecting, I think, with Kellen Moore as the new OC, drafting Quentin Johnson in the first round out of TCU at receiver. Yeah, I was expecting to see Herbert light up the sky a little bit too in the passing game. But really, the story of the game was Tua, Tyreek Hill, the fastest mofos you've ever seen on offense running around the football field with one of the coolest designed offenses. And like you talked about with Teron Armstead not being in the game, and the O-line is still a question mark. Well, what do? They run the ball a little just to keep you honest on that. But then there's so much movement and things you have to respect, right, that nobody can tee off. How many times in the game do you see a guy flying across like the speed sweep, and then he fakes the ball to the running back? So think if you're a defensive lineman, you're going, oh, wait, he's going to give the speed sweep. Oh, no, wait, we're either going to run the ball. Oh, wait, now I got a pass rush. And that's where McDaniel's really smart, is that he does things schematically to slow down the pass rush when he knows like his O-line might not be, the greatest matchup in the world against another defensive line.
And the Dolphins suddenly become one of those teams where whenever they're on, make your plans, Stop what you're doing.
They're must
Make
watch.
sure you can watch them. And programming note again, Sunday night, it's Dolphins at Patriots on NBC. Plus, there's another Sunday night game looming, Week 7 at the Eagles on NBC.
Whoa.
And then Week 9, the folks in Germany had better be ready for what they're getting when it's Dolphins and Chiefs.
Seriously.
On November 5, 9:30 a.m., our time, middle of the day, German time, huge game. When you see what the Dolphins did yesterday and what they're likely going to do, and this is one where, look, Week 1, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time wallowing in what we've been wrong about, but we are going to embrace the stuff we were right about. We both thought the Dolphins were really going to show up this year, and the only question is, can they keep their key players healthy?
That's right.
That's
right.
That's it. If they can keep their key players healthy, they're going to be there at the end. There's going to be some epic playoff games. They're going to be gaining a lot of yards, scoring a lot of points, and they're going to be fun to watch.
Yes, they are. There's no Jalen Ramsey, right? As long as they keep the injuries down, like you said, Tua healthy, I expect not only the Dolphins to most likely win the AFC East in a very tough division, but be one of the best teams in the AFC, and that team that. It's going to take a special defensive game plan and a special defensive personnel set to slow down that offense. They got answers for everything. And McDaniel is the closest thing I've seen to Shanahan yet with what he does on the offensive side of the ball. And, of course, he's got some toys to play with there as well.
Going into the season, we knew the AFC was going to be ridiculously competitive, but that the top 3 teams were Buffalo, Cincinnati, Kansas City, not in that order. Well, so far, Kansas City 0-1, Cincinnati 0-1, and Buffalo maybe 0-1 after tonight. So things are shaking up, and that's fun. You like to see it. It's going to make for an exciting season. The Dolphins are going to make things very exciting as well. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.